professionalism, and the new class war. Many may refer to professionalism as a good thing, but as followers of the Trancentionist movement, egalitarians and anarchists, we must realize any group seeking hierarchical superiority or privileges as fundamentally bad. The professional class, whether directly seeking to or not, through titles and various bits of paperwork, are held in a class of their own. Their words are given more credence, and their evidence rarely questioned in court, certainly compared to that of the lay, woman or man. Of course, a certain amount of this unfairness is down to corruption in those professionals and court being pals, which I will write more on later. Please see corruption in the UK and Ireland. However, the rabbit hole goes deeper than just corrupt officials in each other's pockets, because of this new class divide. This grave disparity and fundamental inequality in the courtroom is very real, but largely uncovered as a political topic. Almost everyone knows that the police, among other schools of professionals, including but not subject to lawyers, social workers, psychiatrists, doctors, lie in court as a common practice for whatever reasons. Probably this is likely in an attempt to make them look somewhat competent, and as superior beings always able to know and give the correct answers. This is the exact problem. The professional class is undoubtedly looked upon as superiors, so much so that their supposed incorruptible expert guidance is called to in all sorts of cases in court, rather than say a relative or friend who may know the accused better than a doctor will, or than the word other the actual person in question. A typical case involving blatant professional superiority might be, say, the word of a psych who has met a patient in a room for an hour, but never seen this person at any other point in their life. The doctor with their PhD suddenly and literally becomes more qualified to talk about a person's personal body, life and mental health than the person themselves, and who has lived with themselves for years. The philosophy that everyone is an expert on themselves is seemingly lost on those inside the courtroom. Let's take a little step back and assess things with a clear head. First, let's get to the actual defined definition of professional. The Oxford Dictionary gives 3 definitions. 1. A verb belonging to a profession. No objection there. That's pretty much self-explanatory. 2. Paid rather than amateur. Now I object big time, as I'm sure a great few philosophers would. Talk about insulting though. According to this second definition, a doctor who may be offering their services freely in the third world is an amateur. Let's also not forget the true meaning of paid labor. It is mercenary, a job to survive, an act of whoring if you will, without a need for a heart, and driven by Darwinist survivalism. Yep, it's those Darwinists cropping up again. True libertarian philosophers like Bakunin and Kropotkin, I think, would equally turn in their graves. We've just read the term amateur to denote those who give their time freely, those who work for a higher cause are amateur, and those who are mercenary survivalist wage slaves are professional. Finally, 3. Competent or skillful. Boy, oh boy, under this definition it would appear the police, among other groups of the systematically indoctrinated professionals who work for the bourgeois state, are automatically promoted to the level of competent human being just for holding their job title. It doesn't get much more obvious, and yet the myths of blind justice and equality in the courts and so forth still prevail. Imagine now if in turn of professional we replaced competent and skillful as the definition for Caucasian. I know somebody out there is thinking, whoa, big leap, but I don't think so. It is the exact same superiority indoctrination that would have been used in the times of slavery to justify slave keeping in the States. There is a clear disparity between the lay and professional class, in more ways than one, both inside and outside of a courtroom. Police across the world get away with murder, giving out beatdowns, gropings, letting their dogs savagely attack people, and pepper spraying innocent civilians in the eyes. Now imagine here in the West anyone but the police doing those things. Each group of professionals have their own little bubble of privileges. Some, such as doctors, can lock you away indefinitely without any court trial at all. Others, such as social workers, can take your biological children away from you before getting any court order, and when you do go to court they can give any reason for taking a child. Extremely rarely expected to provide evidence, being seen as the supreme professional beings our society dubs them to be, which gives them the right to do these things indiscriminately. Foster parents, the professional parents, however, can neglect and abuse children largely scot-free. This sort of physical and sexual abuse and neglect routinely covered up to presumably protect the supposed superiority of the professional class. It's dully worth noting that according to the Oxford Dictionary, non-paid parents would be considered amateurs. Just like the lies of racial supremacy, the lies of professional supremacy, and the disparity between those who earn higher jobs and the common worker and layperson must be brought down. Philosopher and human rights activist Noam Chomsky said, "I think it makes sense to seek out and identify structures of authority, hierarchy, and domination in every aspect of life, and to challenge them. Unless a justification for them can be given, they are illegitimate, and should be dismantled, to increase the scope of human freedom." And frankly, Noam, we at the Church of Trancentionism couldn't agree more. We shall find as many of the illegitimate weeds and pull their roots from the very fabric of society, so allowing that scope for freedom and equality to grow like never before under a new and just age. Professionalism is just one part of this huge iceberg we must chip away at if we are to gain a people's Trancentionist revolution, and forsake our violent uppish past. There is of course that other great side of professionalism, that cold and humane exterior of the new superior class, that comes with the classic "I'm only doing my job," or "It's more than my job's worth" taglines, straight out of the How to Be a Bad Human Being for Dummies handbook, I presume. Blaming their apparent inability to function as a stand-up member of the community on their job and the holy grail of professionalism, snobbery, and superiority. College degrees do seem to be something some get in order so as they can look down their noses at the common people and real actual laborers who build their homes, grow their food, and take away their trash. I personally recall a case of a lawyer whom someone I know had employed laughing while saying something along the lines of needing money from them so he wouldn't have to send his daughter to school. With the riffraff, I can't paraphrase exactly as I don't have a recording, but nonetheless, he wanted money from relatively poor people to fund his daughter's segregation from those heathenish poor he so gladly took money from. Another parasitic member of the legal profession at work. Another reason to be rid of professionalism is the supreme snobbery, that doesn't always, but often goes in hand with it, as well as the sheer exploitation, such as the exploitation aimed at the insecure by plastic surgeons in places the London Underground. It's immoral, it's preying on the vulnerable, and is frankly revolting. But what largely the professional class do across pretty much all the spectrum, from lawyers to doctors and so on,